Hello, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome from me, Steve Lazarus, at Disasters in the Home Community on this Sunday, the 21st of April 2013. Well, what a newsworthy week it's been this last week or so. We have had some amazing news stories. Obviously, we've had the burial of Maggie Thatcher, which has caused some diverse opinions in the UK media, of course. And then we've had some tragic stories, more relevant to our community. We have had the terrible, terrible bombing in Boston, which with its tragic consequences. And we have had the absolutely awful, horrific explosion that occurred at the fertilizer factory in the little town in America near Waco, which was famous some years back for another completely different story. And I think only yesterday we had an earthquake as well in China. So they're very newsworthy stories, but they're also very relevant to what we talk about here on disasters in the home in our community. Because the explosions and the bomb, which are absolutely tragic, and our thoughts certainly go out to the families and the friends and families of the deceased and the injured. But it does bring home the concept that we have to make sure that we are adequately insured. Not only that we're adequately insured, but that we're properly insured for the right, what they call perils. And most household policies, what you've got to realise is that in the explosion in the fertiliser factory, there were something like 16 fatalities so far, and there were dozens and dozens of buildings that have been completely laid to waste and destroyed, and many others that have just been badly damaged and affected and uninhabitable. So making sure you've got the right policy cover, because these things can happen here. Don't think that they can't. I don't know if many of you can remember way back in the 11th of December 2005, we had an enormous explosion at an oil refinery at Buncefield in Hemel Hempstead. Now, I live some 25, 30 miles away, perhaps, as the crow flies. And this was early one Sunday morning, and I was actually awoken by the sound of the explosion. And there's probably some people on this community who live near. In fact, I know there will be some who live near who probably will remember it. And I was involved in some of the claims that arose from that explosion, and it was absolutely devastating. So these things do happen in the UK as well as around the world. So it's well worth paying attention to these things and making sure that you have adequate cover on your home insurance and your building insurance and your business insurance. Most of these policies will provide cover for explosion damage and for terrorist activity as well, certainly on domestic policies. Check your policy wording. If you're uncertain, give your broker a call, but make sure you have the right cover. They are once or twice in a lifetime activities that happen, but terrorist activity is not unusual. I was heavily involved with some of the IRA claims that arose from IRA activity many years ago on the mainland. Unfortunately, in London, North London, and as I said, with the explosion up in Hemel Hempstead. So have a look at your policy. If you've got any doubt, feel free to post it here, and I'll see if I can give you some advice or point you in the right direction. That's it for this week. I hope you found that useful. Let us have any comments or feedback. If you remember the Hemel Hempstead disaster, please post your comments on here. It'd be interesting to see how that came about and how you remember that, your memories of that terrible, terrible day. But as I say, most importantly, our thoughts go to those who have suffered as a result of the terrible tragedies that have occurred over the last week. And please God, next week will be a peaceful one for everyone concerned. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you again this time next week.